Round 3 of the FIM Junior GP World Championship brings us all the way to Gaudi's gateway to the promised land, the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya, built back in 1991 and hosted its first motorcycle race the following year. Barcelona has been a mainstay in racing ever since, with 14 corners made up of 8 right and 6 left. The 4.6 kilometre, 2.89 mile of wonderful tarmac winds itself through the hills and nature of Montmelo. Last year's winners, Xabi Zuratuza and Nico Corrado, have made up the jump up to World Championship, as Junior GP proves to be the ultimate proving ground for the next superstars of the future. So as the field chased down championship leader Jesus Rios, let Battle of Barcelona commence as Junior GP gets ready to race in Catalunya. Well, it's a bumper day of Junior GP action awaiting us, with myself, Liam Hodgins, and the towering champion next to me, Chris Jordan. Chris, welcome, and how are you?
I'm very well. Gaudi's gateway to Barcelona. I never knew you were such a lyricist, but it's an absolute pleasure to be beside you and to witness such lyricism and poetry in motion. But yeah, as we can see, the sun is beating down here in Barcelona. Hasn't been the case all weekend, but looks like we're primed for some excellent racing here today.
Well, it's not been the perfect weekend in terms of weather so far this weekend, but today the sun is shining down upon the fans and us here in Catalunya, and we hope to have a great days of racing action as we hear from our pole sitter. Before we do that, it was last time out in Estoril. It was Cormac Buchanan who get a great start from pole position, his first of his career, and got a screamer of a start. Running slicks, the championship leader Jesus Rios went backwards as people ran off the track early on. Cormac Buchanan, Casey O'Gorman, and of course Marcos Uriarte leading the way, but they were joined by Rico Salmela late on. He would quickly slice through the pack like ice, making his way to the front. The Flying Finn in first position. Casey O'Gorman crashed out late on with only 2 laps to go. Thankfully, he was unharmed as Alvaro Carpi ran off after almost tagging the back of another rider. But it would be to finish first. First, you have to be finished. A sensational Salmela took his first win in Junior GP and delighted the fans with an iconic burnout. Can he repeat the same today as Junior GP gets ready to race in Catalunya? Well, as you can see there's some fluffy clouds in the sky, but with an air temperature of 17 degrees, track temperature of 20, it is positively warm out there, we must say, for the first time so far this weekend. As we were just talking about before, there were some rain showers throughout the weekend, but Chris, I must admit, I've got to say, I've been looking at the weather apps and it's looking like it might be a nice dry day today.
Yeah, well needed after some of the weekends we've had already in this Junior GP category. Visits to Misano, we saw rain. Visits to Estoril, we saw even more rain. But thankfully, after the threat of some gloomy conditions, I should say, it's looking nice and toasty out there and perfect conditions for racing.
Indeed it is, and we've got a bumper crowd so far this weekend. I was standing out on track at turn 10 yesterday and there was fans all around the stadium section. So a week out from MotoGP in Catalunya, we have lots of fans turning up for Junior GP, and I'm sure in the next 5 to 6, maybe 7 years, we'll see some of these riders potentially in MotoGP, because it has been a great proving ground for young talent throughout the years, Chris.
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head there. This is the proving ground. This is the breeding ground for the stars of the future. We've seen plenty of riders last year make the jump up. But before we get into that, let's take a look at how pole position was won.
I'm very happy for this pole position. I'm first because yesterday there has been a one disqualification, but I'm very happy for me and for my team, because he did a good work, and today is a race and we will do my best.
There you go, a pole time of 1:48.5. Adrian Cruces takes pole position ahead of round 3 of the championship, and here he is coming round to the grid on his sighting lap. But Chris, we must talk about the person that should be on pole position. That is, of course, the CF Moto Aspar rider who did take pole position yesterday and unfortunately got a penalty, so he will be starting both races from P17.
Yeah, absolutely. He was disqualified from qualifying from Q2 after infringing on the technical front. But it's about Adrian Cruces, who will launch from pole position here today. A race winner already in this category. He'll be able to get a second victory in the Junior GP class. His first one coming in Valencia at the tail end of last season. But as Morosi drops down the grid, P19, he will start. It's all eyes on the number 11 from the front.
Indeed, it will be 1-1. Well, at the end of the race, he'll be wanting to take away one of those ones and have just P1 sitting right in front of him. So the Mir Fined Work racing team rider of Adrian Cruces, who had a fantastic start to the season so far, 4th in the championship with 40 points, but as you can see there, a second place in Misano, race 2, but he has been featuring at the front for most of the season so far, apart from what you can describe as maybe a bit of a damp weekend in Estoril. You were there, Chris, so you know how much you were drying out your shoes when you got home.
Yeah, thankfully I brought my brolly with me, but yeah, Cruces started a little bit deeper on the grid. Many riders did struggle in the damp conditions because it had been raining all weekend in Estoril. It began to dry up the time of lights out in the Junior GP race, leaving plenty of riders with the dilemma to go on the slicks or on the wets. In the end, the majority chose the slicks, including Casey O'Gorman here. Unfortunately, challenging for the win, crashed out on the penultimate lap. But it's been a strong start to the season for the Irish rider in his rookie campaign in the class.
Yeah, you hit the nail right in the head there. Rookie campaign, you forget that because Casey O'Gorman has been around for such a long time, racing in the European Talent Cup with the Australia Galicia 0-0 team this year. He came through Q1 yesterday, one of the host of names that came through Q1. Big names as well, so we'll get into more of that a little bit later on. But Casey O'Gorman leading the O shows, I guess, because O'Shea is next to O'Gorman on the outside of row number 1. And Eddie O'Shea, one of the riders that found himself on the right side of Morosi's grid penalty yesterday, moving up from 4th to 3rd. So Eddie O'Shea is looking brilliant so far this year. And out on track yesterday, I was watching from turn 10, he pulled a Rossi-esque, top rack Razgatioglu-esque into the final corner on his fastest lap on his good friend RB Aditama. So expect a very racy Eddie O'Shea today.
Yeah, 3rd season in the class of Junior GP. He's already got a podium. That came all the way back in 2022 in Jerez. Front row start, I believe, is his best grid position so far in the class. So it'll be interesting to see what the MLAV rider can do. And we'll be keeping an eye on. We had the pleasure of talking to him for quite a bit yesterday. Keep an eye on his riding style. He was very keen to boast about that, but gets tucked in. He almost disappears down the front straight, he's saying. So we'll be keeping a close eye on Eddie O'Shea today.
He was indeed. Another rider we just saw there was Max Keeles, another rider that had to come through Q1 into Q2 yesterday. So him and Casey O'Gorman yesterday could have been mired in the back of the grid, but thankfully they're on rows 1 and 2 for the Australia Galicia 0-0 team. So Max Keeles, watch out for him chasing his first podium of the season. But there's another rider we've got who I must admit I just bumped into in the loo, and he was looking very happy, very smiley as he was running out to get himself ready for the, or maybe he was just making his team sweat a little bit because the team came in and were trying to chase him out to get on the bike. So Jakob Rosenthal has had a bit of a, well, you can say a bit of a tough start to the season. Had a couple of collisions, one with his teammate Rico Salmela in race 2 of Misano, but lining up in P5 so far. So Rosenthal will be looking for a strong result here today.
Yeah, as you say, P5 for the Austrian. That's a personal best for him. His previous best came in the Algarve last season. That was P8. So he is a podium finisher as well, also coming in Portugal at the season opener in 2023 at Estoril. He'll be looking to add to his tally. But after Misano double DNF and Estoril P10, maybe just a strong point scoring finish is on the agenda. Now, what can we say about the flying Finn we see on screen here? He too had a double DNF in Misano, getting caught up with Rush Mudley on a couple of occasions, but he bounced back in pretty emphatic fashion, coming from the 3rd row in Estoril in those damp conditions to win it by a country mile in the end.
It was cold, it was wet, but he stayed icy cool in Estoril to take his first ever win. After what was a disastrous Misano, it has to be said, was taken out by Rishi Midley in race 1, and then his bike took out Rishi Midley as Midley was serving the long lap penalty for taking out Rico Salmela in race number 1. So what goes around comes around, as they say, and for Cormac Buchanan, a back-to-back podium for the number 14 on the grid. Starting 7th, he's been incredibly quick so far this weekend in wet conditions. Was struggling in the dry on Friday, but found good form late on in Q2. Had a bit of a crash through turn 13 on his final lap, so who knows where he could have been in on the grid without that crash towards the end. But still, P7, he's well in the mix and will be fighting for the podium.
Yeah, the Kiwi riders really made a step up this year. On pole as well last time out. Back-to-back P3s. Let's see what he can do in the dry. He's shown he's a bit of a wet weather rider and has the talent to do so. In the dry, let's see. He's starting a little further back than he did last time out. Jesus Rios then. Look at those results. Double winner in Misano in the season opener, and then just had an absolute nightmare in the difficult conditions in Estoril. We actually thought he had put on the wet tyres, but having talked to a few of the riders, he just ended up going backwards on the slicks. So he's going to be out to bounce back from his no-point scoring position in Estoril. Championship leader too coming into this one. And his closest title rival, the number 89 of Marcus Uriarte. He is closing out the third row and P2 in the championship, just 4 points off of Rios. And as you can see there, Podium and Misano, strong point scoring finish in the second race, while he just pipped Buchanan to P2 in Estoril. So Uriarte most certainly a threat from the third row.
Yeah, you've got to keep an eye on Uriarte. He's been shown strong form so far this season as Uriarte. So maybe that first win is just around the corner. And we know if you're in the Aspar team, you know that Jorge Martinez Aspar thinks very highly of you. Now, Fernando Yambias, the 19-year-old from Argentina, he's third season in the class as well. Showed strongly in 22, had a tough 23. However, so far this year, he's shown another step forward, has the Argentinian. So P10 on the grid, he'll be there or thereabouts in the race, you can imagine.
Yeah, just like Rios actually in Estoril, he did start on the second row and drop backwards to a no-point scoring position. So Yambias out to show a little bit of form, but this is your grid for the first Junior GP race here at Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya. Launching from pole position is Adrian Cruces with Casey O'Gorman and Eddie O'Shea on the front row. Max Quiles has a double long lap penalty coming his way, but he starts from fourth with Rossenthaler and Salmela on row 2. Then it's Buchanan, Rios and Uriarte. A blockbuster row 3. Yambias, Danish and Alvaro Carpe are a quality rider trio on row 4. Danish Ariel, Milan Pawelek and Liguri on row 5 with Abruzzo. Your supposed pole sitter Morosi in P17. Well, then we see Rush Mudley, Dodo Baggio, Evan Belford ahead of Angus Grenfell, Eamon Odaki and Leo Ramsdorfer on row 8. Mononyanye, Pomera and Kevin Farkas on row 9. While closing out the Junior GP grid is Puetasan, Tieti Uezu, last year's winner Arbi Aditama, who is a back of the grid penalty, and Uchi Unig is also at the back of the grid due to a penalty. As we head off now on the warm-up lap, the number 11 of Adrian Cruces is followed by the number 54 of Jesus Rios. Oh, Casey O'Gorman has stalled early here. What is going on for the Irish rider? It's less than ideal. He's going to make his way back into pit lane and is looking at a pit lane start. If he cannot get around, either that or he'll be joining some riders at the back of the grid. But nevertheless, around we go on the warm-up lap. They come through on the sweeping turn 3 and into the right-hander at turn 4.
Yeah, disaster that for Casey O'Gorman. Now, you must remember, race number 1 at Misano, his teammate Max Quiles had the same problem. He started from pit lane and then eventually crashed as he was making his way through the field. So, yeah, not a good start for the Irishman ahead of race number 1. But there you go, glorious blue skies and glorious clouds as well, as we see the Junior GP riders make their way through the middle section of the circuit on the run up to the hill and through the fast right-hander. Now, you've got to be a brave rider there if you want to make an overtake, and we've seen it there. Under the brand new bridge that's under construction towards turn 10. We're going to see lots of overtaking into turn 10. Opened up a little bit a couple of years ago from the very tight left-hander that it used to be, more to the old sort of configuration it used to be in the old days, but a much nicer left-hander for the riders. And through here, I was watching some of the riders from turn 10, and the top 5 or 6 riders on the grid were just really, they weren't hustling the bike like the rest of the riders were. They were very smooth in their transitions, which is where they would have made a good bit of lap time towards the end of the lap. Coming through turn 13 into 14, where we've seen many last-ditch overtakes over the years. But can anyone stop your pole sitter, Adrian Cruces, who will be looking to take his first win of the season?
So then riders roll up to their respective grid positions. We'll bring you an update on Casey O'Gorman as soon as we have it to see where he will start from. Most likely pit lane if he does manage to get going. Safety car, 2 safety cars come round the final corner. And keep an eye now. Number 11, Adrian Cruces, is starting on pole position. The FIM Network team rider. As you can see, Casey O'Gorman's P2 spot is missing, but the red flag is off, the green flag is off, and we're ready to go, Liam.
So the red lights are on, revs are rising. Here we go for race number 1. JuniorGP, a great launch for pole position for Cruces. Max Keeler slots into second with Cormac Buchanan, I believe, into third. Eddie O'Shea slipping back, but slipstreaming down towards the first corner. Rico Salmel, you can see Casey O'Gorman from the pit lane. He'll be let go as soon as he comes through turn number 1. But Uriarte late on the brakes. Larry on the braking into turn 1, slots into third. But for now, it's Max Keeler is ahead of Cormac Buchanan, Uriarte, Cruces and O'Shea, your top 5 as they go through turn number 3 for the first time.
Yeah, Alvaro Carpe and Jesus Rios are going the wrong way after lights out. They have both lost positions and it looks like someone has gone down. No, not quite yet. It's just I saw it on the timing screens. But out front, it's Max Keeler. Remember, he's got a double long lap penalty coming his way, but Cormac Buchanan has a little look up the inside. Nothing going for him there. Then it's Marcus Uriarte in third, Cruces in fourth, O'Shea fifth, Rico Salmeller and Jacob Rossenthaler, the Husqvarna machines, then are hunting down the lead 5 as things stand.
Yeah, this is a perfect position for Max Keeler to be in out front to serve those double long lap penalties. We've seen in the past in European Talent Cup, Max Keeler, he does love a fight through the field, but I can imagine it might be quite difficult for the young Spaniard to do that here today as they power down the back straight into turn 10, where we see a lot of overtaking in the past. Salmela and Rios late on the brakes, and it looks like it's Rios. He does take P7 from the Husqvarna rider, so that is it wasn't Salmela, it was actually Rosenthaler that was shuffled back a position there. Rico Salmela just a couple of positions further in front with the white helmet, the number 27, a very iconic number 27. Max Keeler, if he does any more of that running on the green, he'll be serving another long lap penalty after he serves his 2 in the next few laps. You can see the boards hanging out there for the riders to serve the long lap penalties. So as it come across the line, lap 1 complete. It's Keeles from Buchanan, Uriarte, Cruces, Samela, O'Shea, Rios, Yambias, Rosenthaler, Carpe and Morosi from P17 on the grid. He's already inside the top 10. And here's Keeles now serving the first of his long lap penalties. Oh, very close there to running over the white line. If he'd done that, that would be null and void, which means he would still have to serve 2 long lap penalties. But thankfully, this time he was on the limit, but served it well.
P1 to P12 for Keeles after coming out of a very long lap penalty. Now he's got another one of them to serve. That could prove critical to his chances of podium. But we have seen him already this year, particularly in Misano, start from deeper on the grid and cut through the pack. Even though in WNF he had managed to get himself into strong point scoring positions as Adrian Cruces is stood up there coming around turn 5. But out front then it is Rico Salmela who leads Marcus Uriarte. No strangers to the podium, no strangers to victory either is Rico Salmela. He's looking to go back-to-back in the Junior GP class, and the Flying Finn is off to a sensational start.
Yeah, he's taking Marcos Uriarte with him. They're dropping the others for dead at the moment. Buchanan, Cruces and Rios. They'll have to get their finger out if they want to catch the top 2 for now, but Rico Salmela, we've seen him lead a lot of races so far, but not anymore as Uriarte charges to the front, cuts the nose off the young Finnish rider, and it was Cruces that dropped into third spot ahead of Cormac Buchanan, the Kiwi there. So, and there's Rios as well, who slices up the inside in a very beautiful move through turn number 12 as they power down towards the 13. So for now, that's a gap that's well over half a second, maybe a little bit more in change over Uriarte and Samela. So these two believe that they have the pace to shoot off as they complete lap number 2. You see the boards once again for Max Keeles and Liguori, who both served the long lap penalty last time round without any issue whatsoever. So as they come across the line for lap number 3, it's 7/10 of a second between Salmela and Rios, with Cruces behind, chopping and changing. Rios once again chops for this. Oh, sets up your rider there of I think that was Yambias, I believe, the number 94. It was indeed Yambias. Has made a great start, so he was in 4th until he's been shuffled back to 5th with Rios, who we know is not a miss to an aggressive overtake, Chris.
No, not at all. A 1:49.310 then from Hakim Danish, running in P10 is the fastest lap of the race, but many of the riders are in the mid 1:49s as things stand. Uriarte and Salmela, they had about a 8/10 advantage coming over the line, but as you can see, it's Eddie O'Shea, the number 8 machine on British talent team MLAV Racing, has closed that gap into P3. He's chasing down another podium of first since Jerez 2022. But look, all eyes on Uriarte and Salmela. Classy duo lead out front. Jesus Rios is lurking in 4th position as Facundo Yambias has gotten off, has had a strong opening couple of laps. He's running in 5th place. Buchanan has dropped to 6th with Adrian Cruz as your pole sitter, down in 7th. And then the initial pole setter, Morosi, he is up to 8th position. So as you can see, that 8/10 gap has already disappeared on this lap, and we're coming around into the 4th sector. Here, Jesus Rios coming strong now. Eddie O'Shea is going to have a problem. Yeah, it looks like Eddie O'Shea might have a problem coming into turn 1 as they get to slipstream down this very long Catalan straight.
Yeah, we spoke to Eddie O'Shea yesterday. He believes he has the dry weather pace to fight for the podium and possibly the win, as we're seeing right now. And the way he bridged the gap to the top 2, you would believe that he is well in contention. And a rider that is still getting used to the Pirelli tyres, as most of them are, and we see him tucking into the bubble and well across the other side of the straight, and he powers past the rest of them without a slipstream. So we were talking to him yesterday, and he was very impressed about the way he can tuck under the bubble better than the other riders and get that speed down the straight. And we just saw that as a perfect example there, Chris.
Yeah, way to make me eat my words, Eddie. I said he was going to have a problem with Jesus Rios lurking all over his rear tyre. He makes me eat my own words and takes the lead with the fastest lap of the race, a 1:48.8. So he's dropped into 2nd position as Uriarte once again seizes the initiative. Jesus Rios has moved up to 3rd position at the expense of Rico Salmela. Max Quiles is still running in 5th place, but I'm not sure if he still has one more long lap penalty to serve. I didn't see him come in a second time. Yeah, but Buchanan is still in 6th ahead of Morosi.
Yeah, just to jump over there, Chris, both riders have served the long lap penalty, so Quiles and Liguori have both served them, and we've got them both languishing further down the field. Can't find them on my timing monitor, but please believe me, they are definitely there. Casey O'Gorman watch, he's in P31 at the moment, so he's just ahead of Liguori, who served his 2nd long lap penalty. And, well, Max Quiles, he is well and truly in the back. Here comes Rios up the inside into 2nd, and Eddie O'Shea leading the way. So these two have come through the field in the opening couple of laps and are now 1 and 2.
Yeah, we've got our lead quartet here. Salmela has dropped another position now as Max Quiles has shot his way up into 4th position. Jesus Rios running in 3rd, just behind Uriarte, with Eddie O'Shea still in the lead. He's taken it back from Uriarte, but expect this to chop and change. This front quartet, they've got, what, about 8/10 between Quiles and Morosi at the moment. Salmela is dropping here like a stone. What has happened to the Flying Finn after a dominant performance in Estoril last time out? He looks to be struggling for pace here in the dry, as it's O'Shea, Uriarte, Rios and Max Quiles. And here comes Max Quiles for his 2nd long lap penalty. He went from P1 to P12 the first time he came through. He's going to go from P4 and rejoin, let's see, outside the top 10 for sure. Maybe outside the point scoring positions. It looks like he's going to drop in at P14, just ahead of Rush Mudley.
Well, there goes my say and what just happened to Max Quiles there, because it flashed up saying he'd served the 2nd long lap penalty. So I believe he didn't, as we've just seen him serve it there. So that has shuffled him down the order, but it only took him a couple of laps to get back up to the top group. So believe me when I say this, Max Quiles is not out of this just yet. But the chasing riders further back of Morosi, who's come through from P17 on the grid. The number 19 there, just ahead of Adrian Cruz, is already in 4th spot, about half a second off the lead group of O'Shea, Uriarte and Rios, your championship leader, your top 2 in the championship, and 2nd and 3rd position. Cruces climbing all over the back of Morosi as Rios looks over his shoulder to see that gap of 7/10 of a second just behind him. But Alvaro Carpi as well, was mired in the pack, making a move on Cormac Buchanan into turn 10. A clean move, and it looks like it was Rosenthaler trying to make. It was Rosenthaler on the other Husqvarna machine that was also making a move there as well.
Yeah, what this chasing pack need to do now is just slot in behind Morosi. He's had the pace all weekend, and he's showing he has the pace right now. Starting deep on the grid in P19, or P17, I should say. He's closed that 8/10 gap now. Let's see what it is coming over the line, but it's down to about 4/10 to Jesus Rios. So the lead trio are going to have a problem soon because Marossi is on the charge here and he is bringing a freight train of riders with him. But Adrian Cruces has got the outside of the Italian. Will he make a move? It's the pole sitter against the initial pole sitter, but it's Marossi who wins this battle as Cruces remains in fifth position. But this chasing pack is gaining ground and fast on O'Shea, Uriarte and Rios as O'Shea goes wide and he's coughed up a position. Will he battle back for the lead? Looks like he's given the initiative to Uriarte. No, he hasn't, but Jesus Rios sees a gap and he dives up the inside at turn 4 for the lead.
One rider that's found reverse gear instead of top gear is Rico Salmela. The early leader of the race is down to P16, so he's just been dropping through the field like a stone at the moment.
Yeah, he's
so
got a problem, surely.
Yeah, he must have a problem. The rider, the 27 on the Lucky Molly Husqvarna Intact JuniorGP machine is back down to 16. 3.5 seconds off your race leader, Jesus Rios. So we're not sure what's happening there. We will keep an eye on Rico Salmela, your race winner from last time out in Estoril, is having a disaster so far. You can see him in the background there with the white helmet just in front of that second group. So he's dropped well off the back of this group with the likes of Rushi Moodley, the number 21 in 15th position. He's come back from, well, he didn't even get through Q1. So the rider has shown great form throughout the season so far, has got the pace on the Mir Finnedwork Racing Team machine. Watch out for the 21 South African rider as he charges through the pack from 15th.
Yeah, it was a packed Q1 session as well in Junior GP. Plenty of these riders came through it. The likes of Gorman was there. Gorman now has dropped back. He's up into P29 after a pit lane start. But it was a quality Q1 session with a number of the top riders in there. But looking at the screens now, it's Eddie O'Shea who is leading. And as you can see, this trio is now turned into a group of about 9-10 riders battling for victory as Dodo Baggio sets the fastest lap of the race, 1:48.7. Jesus Rios has dropped into 4th position, I believe. Oh no, he's still in 3rd, leading the Licky Mollys of Carpe and Rossenthaler. Indeed, Carpe is actually of the STV Laglice Racing. Excuse me for that. It's a similar livery name, so I think I can be forgiven on that one. Marossi, who was leading this pack, has now also dropped down into 6th position behind the Licky Molly machine of Jakob Rossenthaler.
We just saw Max Keeler at 28 lurking into shot in the background, making some moves into turn 4 as Marossi sets up Alvaro Carpe there on the exit of turn 5. That was actually Rosenthaler, so it's easy, as you said, Chris, to get these Husqvarna machines mixed up with a similar livery. But chopping and changing in the mid-pack there, Marossi making his way to the front, and O'Shea diving for the apex of turn 9, the fast right-hander, leading on to the back straight. And you just mentioned Casey O'Gorman there, Chris. He's at 15.1 seconds off the leaders, and that's 12 seconds off the point. So barring any disaster for the riders in the points, I think Casey O'Gorman's time in the sunshine for points might be quite difficult to come back from. So Casey O'Gorman there, a rider that from his starting position of 2nd, and unfortunately stalling on the grid ahead of the warm-up lap. It could be his race's run, barring a mistake or a red flag.
Currently lapping into 1:49.7s, where P15 is Rammersdorfer. He recorded a 1:49 flat last time out. So O'Gorman's going to need to find some improvements if he is to land himself into the points here today. Well, in race 1, and of course he will have a second opportunity later in the day. Now it's Eddie O'Shea who is still out in front ahead of Uriarte. Familiar protagonists during this race is chopping and changing a lot behind them. Currently it's number 83 of Alvaro Carpe, who was charged from the 4th row, I think, to take P12 to take 3rd position ahead of Yambias, who is having himself a very strong ride, the Uruguayan.
Yeah, one of the riders that was a bit of a leg out there from Yambias. So yeah, Uruguayan, I said Argentinian earlier, and I apologise to Uruguay for that, and to Yambias. My apologies to them. So yes, a Uruguayan rider on the number 94. Alvaro Carpe chops to the inside of Jesus Rios. Rios round the outside has almost hung out to dry. Once again, we're seeing Alvaro Carpe gets elbows out through turn number 5, but you've got to wake up early to get the best of Jesus Rios, because as we've seen, he doesn't mind setting you up if you get in his way, especially to turn 1, as Yambias darts to the apex of turn 9. We thought we were going to see another overtake there, just as we saw from Eddie O'Shea on the previous lap. But O'Shea, so far on the British talent team MLAV Racing, is happy to lead from the front. Is Yambias gets his elbows out, pushing Uriarte out wide and taking advantage of that almost was Uriarte. So he, Alvaro Carpe, just looking to his right, seeing that Jesus Rios is on his inside, so Rios takes advantage of that, but that's giving Eddie O'Shea a bit of a gap. O'Shea is a demon down the straight, as we're going to see in a second. There's Max Quiles up the inside of Alvaro Carpe, so he's in fifth now. We did say a couple of laps ago to watch out for Max Quiles on the 28 Team Estrella Galicia 0-0 machine, as he's back into fifth after serving those 2 long lap penalties, but nobody so far, Chris, can lay a glove on the number 8 of the British talent team MLab Racing Machine, as Quiles darts into second position behind his teammate of Fernando Yambias. So for now, it's O'Shea from Yambias, Quiles, Uriarte, Rios, Carpe, Morossi, Ruda, Boggio and Rosenthaler rounding out your top 10. Further back, Salmela has started to find his feet once again. He's lapping at the same pace of the leaders. He's 4.4 seconds back, so he's not dropping back further. So he's still in 16th spot, just behind Hakim Danish, the young Malaysian.
Yeah, I think the front 2 here are going to have a big problem soon, as Max Quiles is charging hard. Fastest rider in the top 10 from a quick look at the timing screen. A 1:49.3. No one else in the 1:49.3s in the top 10. So it looks like he is going to charge hard. He's got his teammate Yambias just ahead of him on the Estrella Galicia 0-0 machine, the number 94. Not for long though. It looks like Quiles is having a little look up the inside of the Uruguayan. Has he made it stick? We'll check now just as we come back around the front. Indeed, he has not. As we can see, the 94 still holds in second place, and now Quiles is having another look up the inside, but he's not close enough to make that stick. So Quiles is lapping fastest inside the top 10. It's just a matter of getting past the Uruguayan on the 94 machine, Facundo Yambias. But Eddie O'Shea riding a classy race at the moment out front.
Cue the Jaws music. Max Quiles, as we've seen so many times over the years in European Talent Cup, has charged his way to the front, almost looking for a Rossi and Top Rack Razgatioglu move into the final corner, but couldn't make it stick. Also, Uriarte and Rios were looking for in the slipstream to come. 6 laps to go of this freight train of riders down to Leo Ramensdorfer in 15th. So everyone you see on screen is your points battling positions, as Quiles chops in front of Yambias as a rider went out wide there at the bottom of our screen there, but it didn't look like it went off circuit, so just slotting back into the pack a little bit further back in the bottom edges of the top 10. With 5.5 laps to go, they come through turn number 3 up to turn 4. Rios looking for a move up the inside of Morossi, makes a stick, sets up not just Morossi but also Yambias, hung out to dry on the Estrella Galicia machine, the 94, the Uruguayan rider, so he's out for the count at the moment, back in 6th spot, just a little bit detached, almost to the back of this top 5, but Quiles now takes the lead for the first time in this race after taking it from Eddie O'Shea, who's been leading for the last 4 or 5 laps quite comfortably. But now Max Quiles, after serving those double long lap penalties, the others should be worried, because the Spanish rider, as we saw a couple of times last year in the European Talent Cup, would get his way to the front after coming through the pack and just disappear into the distance. Yeah,
5.5 laps to go, but it can all change in the blink of an eye. Just ask Facundo Yambias. He was challenging for the lead. He was in 2nd position, and in just a couple corners time, he is dropped out of the podium battle and all the way down to P6, behind the likes of Rios, Morossi and Uriarte. All of them, though, are very much in with a chance at the podium and perhaps even the victory, as Eddie O'Shea has now dropped to 3rd position with Jesus Rios on the charge through. Max Quiles, though, your race leader here, ahead of Jesus Rios. Then is Eddie O'Shea with Morossi, the initial pole sitter who was disqualified from Q2 and started P17 on the grid. He has now moved up into 4th position, just ahead of Marcus Uriarte.
Once again, Eddie O'Shea using the left-hand side of the circuit to stay out of the slipstream from the other riders, and he's on his own without any slipstream whatsoever. Powers past 3 of them as Max Quiles hung out to try a little bit there from Morossi. So Morossi getting his elbows out. The number 47 of Boggio, Dodo Boggio, he's in this group as well. He set the fastest lap of the race a few laps ago. He's trying to ride round the outside of Quiles and Yambias there. So the number 47 there on the
Rios
Eagle
goes
1.
up the inside.
Rios, as I said earlier on, Rios is a rider that will not be worried about setting anyone up, Chris.
What did I say, Liam? It can all change in the blink of an eye. The Estrella Galicia junior team have experienced that. Yambias dropped from P2 to P6. Quiles, 1 lap later, has dropped from P1 all the way down to P5 in the space of a couple corners. That means Eddie O'Shea is back out front, with Uriarte now in second, and Jesus Rios, your championship leader, in P3. 4 points separate Rios and Uriarte. So if it stays like this, we will have shared championship leaders.
I can't imagine it's going to stay like this for very long, Chris. We're going to have somebody making a move, and Cruces is going for a doubler. Yes, he does, up the inside of Rosenthaler and Podium. So that was Cruces up the inside of 2 riders there. Great overtake, a very daring overtake, and Cruces with 4 and a bit laps remaining. He's now starting to work his way to the front, just behind Max Quiles there in 6th spot. So as it comes down towards the final corner, downhill into the final corner, a very fast right-hander clicking off another lap. 4 to go is across the line. Eddie O'Shea, Uriarte, Rios, Morossi, Quiles, Cruces, Rosenthaler, Boggio, Yambias and Cormac Buchanan at the back of the top 10 down towards turn number 1. Who's going to be later on the brakes? Uriarte, but no, it's O'Shea who's an absolute demon on the brakes into turn 1 as Rosenthaler out a bit wide there, and it looked like Cruces almost chopped in front of him around the outside into turn 2, but to power through turn number 3. I was about to say, Chris, it looks like the top 10 have broken away from the rest of the pack, but once again, it's the top 15, all in shot as they go down towards turn number 5, all within 1.4 seconds of each other. Junior GP is back with a bang in Barcelona.
Yeah, you could throw a blanket over them. It is that close. It looked like Eddie O'Shea had actually gone a bit wide there coming through turn 3, but he maintains the lead as we leave the first sector and enter towards the back straight, going through 7 and 8. Quite shortly, left-hander here, switching now to the right, and Eddie O'Shea is still leading, but is that Uriarte about to have a little look up the inside? He's just a bit too far back, and look who is just lurking in the background. It's a familiar sight. It's Max Quiles. You think he's getting knocked back. He's had a double long lap penalty. He's been knocked back a few positions every time, and just a few corners later, he is back in the victory fight. He had a little look up the inside for Uriarte there, but nothing going, coming into the final sector, coming around turn 12 now. Eddie O'Shea, it looks like he will lead this one over the line once again, but with 3 laps and what? 2 corners, 3 corners remaining. Can he maintain? Can he keep his pressure? Can he keep his cool under pressure? I'll get it out eventually. And maintain his charge towards victory. It will not be easy, that's for sure, Liam.
I can imagine, Chris, they're keeping the cool a lot more than we are in this commentary box at the moment. It's a little bit warm in here as the sun is shining down on this beautiful Barcelona circuit here in Catalunya. 15 riders, all within the chance of winning this race. Down towards turn number 1 once more. Eddie O'Shea leading the way, but it's now Uriarte in second, with Rosenthaler around the outside, just missing out on third, ahead of Quiles and Yambias, but it's Cruces now into P3. So as we said a couple of laps ago, Cruces is now starting to make his mark on this race, and Uriarte takes a very tight line coming through turn 3, but once again Eddie O'Shea just sweeping round the outside, as cool and calm as you like, into the lead once more. And I must admit, Chris, Eddie O'Shea is looking he's looking good, well on form here.
Yeah, we're trying to give him the commentator's curse just yet.
Yeah, I hope I haven't said anything amiss here.
He seems to prefer that wider line coming through turn 3, and it seems to be paying dividends. It's a risky move, I would say, given that all the other riders seem to prefer the tighter line, but it's working for him every time. Taking that wider line out of the right, sweeping right-hander at turn 3, gives him maybe a little bit better drive coming into 4, and that hands him the advantage, leaving sector 1 and down towards the back straight section in sector 2, which is where we are now. Adrian Cruz is then, you see the number 11 having a little look up the inside of Marcus Uriarte. Cruz looks like he might have timed this to perfection. The pole sitter, we haven't mentioned him too much. He's been mired in this mid-pack battle for victory, but he's timing his charge just right. What does he have for the 2 riders ahead of him? And what does he have for, is that Alvaro? It's Jakob Rosenthaler, who has dived up the inside there, and that's a brilliant move.
Rosenthaler has found himself in the wars so far this season. The others around him will be a little bit wary of the number 78 in 3rd spot as they come across the line with 2 laps remaining. O'Shea from Uriarte, Rosenthaler, Cruces and Rios, your championship leader. 4, 5 abreast into turn 1. Once again, it's Eddie O'Shea leading the way. Max Quiles out a bit wide there. Oh, Rios and Yambias come together in turn 1 with Keyless having to go off circuit there. He's going to have to lose a second there. It's Max Keyless if he doesn't want to pick up another penalty, slotting in behind Rios. So he's back in the position he was as he ran off track. So that could spell disaster. With a lap and a quarter to go, or 3 quarters to go for Max Keyless, as Rosenthaler round the outside of Uriarte. That's brave, that's delightful, and Uriarte gets his elbows out as Yambias late on the brakes takes 3 of them and 1 into turn 4. Yambias, he's come out to play. Keyless is out wide there. So Keyless, after that mistake in turn number 1, is really being beaten up and shuffled back.
Yeah, that turn 1 mistake going wide, you'd imagine that's going to put paid to his hopes of victory or even perhaps a podium, but we've said that once or twice already. He's been through the double long lap penalty twice and made his way back, but maybe he's just a bit short on time with just, what, a lap and a half to go, less than a lap and a half to go. But out front, it's Eddie O'Shea. Marcus Uriarte has a little look up the inside, but is not close enough. And then it is Rosenthaler. Yambias has recovered to push himself into 4th position. Then it's Cruces and Rios on KTM Machinery, Morosi in P7, Dodo Baggio, Max Keyless and Cormac Buchanan make up the top 10 as things stand. But they're all within, what, about 8/10 of one another, 9/10. So it is still far from over here. But amid all the chopping and changing, Morosi there out of the seat, amid all this chopping and changing, Eddie O'Shea has been coolness personified as we enter the last lap. How many laps has he led ahead of the chaos happening behind him?
You've got to feel sorry for him if he doesn't lead at the end of this lap, the last lap, the one that really counts. Eddie O'Shea down towards turn 1, Uriarte round the outside, Cruces up the inside of Rosenthaler, shuffles him out wide. Rios takes advantage of that. Rosenthaler back down to P5, but for now it's still Eddie O'Shea that leads the way, as he has done for most of this race so far, ahead of Uriarte. But watch the different line to take coming out of turn 3. Cruces almost tagging the back of Uriarte. Eddie O'Shea knows about Uriarte's line. Uriarte for the lead. Here comes Rios up the inside into turn 4, into P3. O'Shea back up the inside once again, taking advantage of Uriarte running wide. And here comes Cruces up the inside of his championship rival so far. Shuffles Rios down to 4th for now. And Rosenthaler, your top 5. So it's Eddie O'Shea brilliantly leading the way for now.
Uriarte made his first play for the victory move, and he ran it wide. Eddie O'Shea stays cool under pressure, still leads an absolutely blockbuster race here in the Junior GP class at Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya. It's the Brit who leads over the home hero Marcus Uriarte, and Adrian Cruces is in 3rd. Championship leader, the number 54 of Jesus Rios, is not out of this one. Oh, Uriarte and Eddie O'Shea has been pumped wide in the final sector. That is devastating for the young Brit.
And Rios, once again, like Mazzano, comes through it all cleanly and leading the way with 2 corners to go. So Cruces punted out wide, Eddie O'Shea and Uriarte, and 1 more corner to go. Will we get Rossi? Will we get a top rack? Down towards the final corner, Cruces looks for it, but no, it's going to be Rios once again coming out of the final corner. Uriarte gets through, and Keyless for second, but it's Rios who takes the win ahead of Uriarte and Cruces, who just holds on for the top 3. Keyless missed out, but once more, Jesus Rios, your championship leader, times it to absolute perfection. The 54, and we've got a shortcut under investigation for Max Keyless. We did say that a couple of laps ago. I believe, Chris, he didn't lose enough time as he came through turn 1 and 2 after running off track. So he's under investigation. He did finish in 4th, but he might drop down the order. But what more can you say about Jesus Rios? The rookie in the class is showing his star is shining bright for the future. The 54 on the KTM MRE talent machine once more has taken victory. 3 out of 4 so far for Rios. And Chris, that was outstanding.
Talk about timing. Jesus Rios was there running in 4th position coming into the final sector. Eddie O'Shea, you just have to feel sorry for him. A brilliant, brilliant race, and he just gets bunted wide going into turn 10, I think it was. But that was the opportunity for Jesus Rios to make his win number 3 this season. Brilliant, brilliant stuff from the championship leader. Now on 75 points, Marcus Uriarte back on the podium. He keeps pace with Rios in the championship race. He's pretty happy with that. Misses out on the victory, just not by much. but it's another strong result. And the pole sitter then, Adrian Cruces, rounds out the podium. Again, timing it quite well. Max Quiles crossed the line 4th. We'll see if there's anything to come from that investigation post-race. Then it's Rosenthaler, Yambias and Buchanan with Dodo Baggio, Morosi and Carpe. Eddie O'Shea in the end down in P13. Disappointment for the young Brit.
Yeah, big shame there for Eddie O'Shea, who led the race brilliantly throughout most of it. About 3/4 of the way he led in total. And just at the end, he did everything right going down towards turn 10. Covered the inside line, but it was Quiles, the rider we see on, not Quiles, Cruces, the rider that we see on screen now, the number 11, who made a do-or-die effort. You can imagine, closed his eyes a little bit and went from 3rd to 1st and punted it wide, Uriarte. And the rider, unfortunately, on the outside of all of that was Eddie O'Shea. But he will be back for race number 2 to try and make amends for that after leading so brilliantly. But making amends for his 26th position in Estoril after dropping through the field like a stone is Jesus Rios, once more back to winning ways. And you can imagine he will be a big star for the future as well. The riders enjoying him in Parc Ferme. Marcos Uriarte, that is the 3rd podium of the season so far. So Marcos Uriarte stepping up to the CF Moto Aspar junior team has shown his form, and we have a change of result for Max Quiles, who finished in 4th, so not affecting the podium. So Max Quiles handed a 3-second penalty for cutting through turn 2 and not losing enough time going through the long lap area there. So that drops Max Quiles down to 15th, so only gets 1 solitary point. So everyone that was behind him, so Rosenthaler, Yambias, Buchanan, Baggio, Morosi, Carpe, Danish Moodley, O'Shea, who was leading, who came across the line in 13th, but will move up to 12th. Ramsdorfer and Ruda all move up 1 position. But the rider and the team we see on screen, the MRE Talent Squad, they won't care 1 jot about that penalty from Max Quiles, because once again, they have been leading it from the front. And once more, 3 out of 4 victories for Jesus Rios. Remember that name. A rookie in Junior GP is taking it by storm. The number 54, we've seen the 54 reign supreme and World Championship level with the likes of Manuel Poggiali, the 125 and 250 world champion in the early 2000s, and of course top rack Razgatioglu. Now here's turn number 10 once again. Cruces up the inside of Uriarte, and Eddie O'Shea hung out to dry, sent off circuit there after leading brilliantly for most of the race, but exiting the final corner. Quiles gets a fantastic run, but unfortunately for him, P4 didn't matter because he was given a 3-second time penalty post-race for cutting the corner at turn 2 and not losing enough time. But once more, Jesus Rios, as we see some slow-mo action here of him coming into pits. Look at that beaming smile. From ear to ear, you can see, well, we couldn't see it behind the helmet, but you can imagine those teeth were on display with the big smile. And Marcos Uriarte, his cousin Brian Uriarte, had a lot of success in European Talent Cup last season, and of course last time out at Le Mans with the Red Bull Rookies taking his first win. It's another Uriarte that is stealing some of the headlines this year in Junior GP. Marcos Uriarte and Adrian Cruces, another podium to add to his collection, and more important, points for the championship. But he would not want to see Jesus Rios, who was 4 points ahead of him coming into this race, take the win. So he's dropped 13 points behind the young Spanish rider. And thankfully, we're going to hear from Jesus Rios now, as he's down with our very own Chris Jordan.
Talk about timing, a brilliant race win. That's 3 from 4. You're still the championship leader. How are you feeling?
Yeah, they're feeling incredible because the riders are very, very fast. But in the last lap, I try to keep push a lot. Well, finish the first position because the last 2 corners, I think I am very fast. And well, I finish in the first position.
Y por todo lo que escuchan y te ven en español, porfa.
Bueno, ha sido una carrera muy complicada. nuestros pilotos son muy rápidos y nada, en la última vuelta he intentado buscarme el hueco y en las dos últimas curvas me sentía muy rápido y por eso he tirado primero en las dos últimas curvas y al final he acabado primero, bastante agradecido con mi equipo, con mis patrocinios, que sin ellos no sería posible, y también por mi familia.
Felicidades.
Well, this is how a blockbuster Junior GP race number 1 got underway. Khrushchev from pole position got the whole shot into turn number 1, but at the end of the first lap it would be Max Quiles leading the way, but he would have to serve a double long lap penalty, serving the first one from the lead at the end of lap 1, but he would power back towards the top group before serving his second long lap penalty just behind Eddie O'Shea, who was leading the way brilliantly early on. Rossi from P17 on the grid after being disqualified from Q2 was up to 4th spot, just ahead of Adrian Khrushchev, as the top 15 were all in shot battling for the points and of course the podium positions. Uriarte would look up the inside into turn 4 on many occasions, but Eddie O'Shea would hold his line. With a few laps to go, it was Alvaro Carpe, Rios and of course Max Quiles making his way back through the field, who would find his way towards the front once more. Down towards turn number 1, Quiles up the inside of Uriarte, hanging the Spaniard out to drive the local hero, but 3 abreast into turn number 1 once more, but once more Eddie O'Shea brilliantly was leading the way. It was once more a 4-way battle into turn 1 late in the brakes, as Rosenthaler was in the mix now, but he would lose out to Khrushchev and Rios. But as it came down towards turn 10 in the final lap, Eddie O'Shea hung out to drive with Khrushchev and Uriarte up the inside. He would eventually drop back to 12th position, but Rios taking advantage of it to cross the line once again. Jesus Rios reigning supreme in Barcelona, his 3rd victory of the season from 4. Jesus Rios reigning supreme in race number 1 as he came in to celebrate with his team. He will be hoping for a repeat in race number 2 later today. Well, as we get ready for the podium positions, we have a couple of more penalties to tell you about. Fernando Yambias, who crossed the line in 5th, would have been his best result in Junior GP, drops down to 6th after exceeding track limits on the final lap. He equals his best result of the season. Dodo Boggio from 7th into 8th, and of course Hakim Danish from 11th to 12th. But that was just a little bit of an update to bring you as we see the podium celebrations, and Adrian Khrushchev in 3rd, adding to his silverware in Junior GP and more important points for his championship. Another rider adding more important points for his 3rd podium of the season, Marcos Uriarte on the CF Moto Aspar Junior team. But the rider they're all chasing for the glory is Jesus Rios, the young rider from Spain on the MRE Talent Machine. He picks up another victory in the class, and so far it's difficult to stop. And we have the trophies being handed out to the representative of the MRE Talent team. That's another silverware they're adding to the collection now. They're really racking up the trophies so far in 2024. Adrian Khrushchev, another podium to add to his, another trophy to add to his mantle. Happy enough with that is Adrian Khrushchev, but he will feel a little bit disappointed after going for the lead into turn 10, but just missing out. And we have, well, they're not sure who to hand it to, I guess, but we've got there eventually. It's a guy in 2nd there, the one closest to you. Just hand the 2nd place trophy over to Marcos Uriarte, and Marcos points to his team, points to the fans in the grandstands across this pit straight, and that is another one he'll be happy to hand out. But a rider we know who's won in Junior GP before, Colin Veyer, Moto3 race winner and championship contender in 2024, hands out your race winner trophy to Jesus Rios. And Jesus Rios will be listening to the Spanish national anthem and hoping to hear that later on today.
The Spanish national anthem then, and it's a 3 riders. It's a Spanish lockout here in Barcelona for the home heroes. They'll get another chance to get onto the podium later this evening, or this afternoon rather, when Junior GP Race 2 comes up. While we're sure there will be some of their rivals waiting for their chance to get themselves onto the box. Time to pose now for a photo with the trophies, with their helmets, atop the rostrum.
Ha terminado en esta tercera posición el piloto de FIM Marcos Uriarte de TF Moto Aspar en esa segunda plaza y el líder.
So Jesus Rios then, that's 3 out of 4 race wins for the young Spaniard. A very impressive start to the season indeed, and what a way to bounce back from his Estoril rather, no point. So, Rios is your winner ahead of Uriarte and Adrian Cruces. Jakob Rossenthaler records a P4 ahead of Kiwi Cormac Buchanan. Then it's Facundo Yambias in 6th. Alessandro Morosi charged from P17 to 7th, with Dodo Baggio and Alvaro Carpe securing top 10 finishes. Rush Mudley is also inside the top 10 ahead of Hakim Danish. Eddie O'Shea is up to 12th. After Quiles' late penalty. Ramersdorfer and Ruda are 13th and 4th before Quiles takes the final point scoring position ahead of Estoril winner Rico Salmela, who will be out to avenge today's performance. Uchuimi is ahead of Sharil, Powerlek and Monignane, all take the checkered flag ahead of Belford. Pomara, Eamon Odaki, Jack Rafat, Poetasan and Angus Grenfell. Then it is Leonardo Abruzzo, Kevin Farkas, Arbi Aditama, Cesare Tiezzi and Eo Uzai ahead of Eduardo Liguri, who never recovered from his long lap penalty. Then Casey O'Gorman at the back of it all. Disaster for the Irish rider, who was meant to start from P2 but ended up starting from pit lane. This is what it does to the championship standings, and Rios extends his advantage by 5 points over Uriarte, who took P2. Then it's Cruces 19 points further behind, with Morosi and Buchanan inside the top 5. Eddie O'Shea is in 6th place, with Rico Salmeller and Jakob Rossenthaler tied on 25 each, 1 point ahead of Casey O'Gorman. Alvaro Carpe is in the top 10. Yambias moves up the standings, as does Quiles with his solitary point. Danny Sharil, Dodo Baggio, Marcus Ruda then following them, Hakim Danish, and then Leo Ramersdorfer from Austria. Guillaume Planck wasn't in action today, but he is 18th in the standings ahead of Rush Mudley, Milan Polak and Eamon Odaki, with Lennox Pomara taking 1 point so far this season.
Well, race number 1 from Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya is confined to the history books, and once more it was your championship leader, Rapid Rios, reigning supreme with a brilliant Barcelona performance. Will he be able to do the same later on today with race number 2 coming up at 2 o'clock local time? Jesus Rios, your winner, but don't go anywhere, as Moto2 race 1 is up next.